Welcome, friends, to Play Guitar Podcast, episode 365. I am Lee, and I'm here to help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be, and we're going to have a lot of guitar fun today. I'm going to get into a couple really fun things. How about targeting chord tones for beginners? That's crazy talk, right? How about anticipating chords for beginners? More crazy talk. I'm also going to be answering a bunch of your questions from the delightful comment area on YouTube. We've got some really great questions from there. So before I get into all this stuff, I want you to check out this week's solo. Here it is. That's fun. I love stuff like that. That's fun for me. But big warning, this isn't the lick video. I have a whole other video where I get into every single note, why it works, the tab, everything is in that video. So go ahead and click this link if you're here for the lesson video. This is the learning part. This is the part that actually changes your course as a musician. We're not just adding more licks on, we're learning how to use them and songs in different ways across all of your music, not just stuck in that one song that you're working. So go ahead and check that out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk when I recorded this solo. What I did was I played the thought out part first, the part that you just heard. And then after that, I jammed. I jammed for about 10 minutes on the same chord progression all the way through. And going back and listening to it and editing that, the thought out part, this simple, listenable beginning part worked great. And the jam part, where I was doing a lot more, a lot of complicated riffs, I was really going for it. It had way less impact than the thought out part. So that led me to think, having some sort of structure before you improvise, that's it. That's really the difference. That's the golden ticket. It's simple. It works every time. The structure I used this time was targeting chord tones while I used major pentatonic. This one. It sounds very difficult, does it? Targeting chord tones, especially if you're a beginner. Well, what's that? Well, what are you doing as a beginner? You learn a scale pattern and you go and you get a backing track, and the scale pattern's in A and the backing track's in A, and it's supposed to work out. And at first it's amazing. I can't believe I'm playing along to this stuff. And not too long after that, you start realizing, wow, what I'm playing doesn't sound like what everyone else is playing. There's some other things going on here that I don't know about. So if I'm going to do this kind of stuff, if I'm going to play over this, I need some more information. And so what I'm trying to tell you is targeting the chords that you're playing over is very important. And I'm speaking to beginners. I'm not speaking to, advanced, intermediate, and advanced players. In the beginning, if you're just starting to play lead guitar, you've been playing for a while and you never progressed, I'm speaking to you. Why target these things? Well, we're going to defeat the problems that we're having. We're going to get you out of a rut. The biggest one being aimlessness. I've learned this pattern. I'm playing it in the right key, and I still stink at it. It's easy to do this. And why not start this as a beginner? If you're playing scales and if you're playing over chords, you're a beginner lead guitar player. This is going to help you so much. And that is taking a look at the chords you're playing. Okay. So in this instance for this week, we're in the key of A, right? And we have, can we hear that? Yeah, we can hear that. We're in the key of A. We have three chords. We have A7, D7, and E7. Can you play those chords? Well, if you can play the chords and you know your pattern 1 scale, the 1-4, 1-3, 1-3, 1-3, 1-4 and 1-4 that everybody left off of 1-4 there, that everybody learns. If you can do those two things, play the chords and play those, you can target the root notes of those chords. Well, where's an A? Well, it's at It's at the bottom of my chord here. This is my 5th fret, A7, looks like an E7 chord. And that's just the low note for them. There's my A. Now my next is a D9. I'll do a 9 here that I could have done just as easily done D7. They can go back and forth. Here's a D7, and my 3rd finger is on the 5th fret of the A string. That's a D note. And then the E7 is just up 2 frets from that. So there's my root note of that chord. The E is on the 7th fret of the A string. These 3 notes. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a little bit, and then I'm going to hit that note. That's all I'm going to do. And listen to what happens. End it on that note. Now I'm going to play a little bit. End it on that note. There's the E. So, did that sound aimless? Not at all. It had a statement, then another statement, then another statement. It had there was an idea behind it. I was playing anything I wanted to play with that pentatonic scale. But when I was done, I hit the chord note that was playing at the time. For the A chord, I hit an A. For the D chord, I hit a D. For the E chord, I hit an E. That's not a difficult thing to do. That takes a second to find those notes in your scale, even if you have to count up from the beginning. But what does it do? It teaches you about strong notes and weak notes. Let's get into that. So aimless solos. I hear it all the time. I meet new coaching students. I help people who are in the academy. Everything I play, it just doesn't sound right. It just doesn't have a point to it. Aimless equals not having a plan. Versus targeting. Targeting equals having a plan. Right? And it doesn't have to be a fancy plan. It can be the easiest plan. It doesn't even have to be a great plan. Just a plan. Just listen to that. That was a complete throwaway solo, but there was a structure to it, a basic structure. I play a little bit, then I'd hit the chord note. Play a little bit, hit the chord note. All of a sudden, it's like a camera goes into focus here. I could have done tapping. I could have done all sorts of crazy stuff, right? I can play super fast all over the place. That may not have been as effective as this little throwaway solo that I just did for you right here. This idea of just having a plan of like, okay, well, I'm going to start low and go high, or I'm going to target notes for this, or I'm going to change my rhythms as I go, or I'm going to start with this one rhythm and just build on it through the whole solo. Just having that little plan, some idea of what you're going to do, it changes everything when you sit down to play over a backing track. So how do you do this? How do you to make this happen? Well, what I do exactly what I just did. I figured out what the chords are, and I learned where they were first. And all I really did was learn the low notes here. That's no different than playing bar chords. If you can play bar chords, you should be able to target the notes when you're playing over a chord progression. You just have to find that one note. And then later on, you can find where that same note sits all over the place. But this is getting your ear in gear. You'll hear that strong note of the chords. And I'm not asking you to go and figure out what all the other notes of the chords are. We're just looking for the basic note of the chord. And bottom line, what you could do at first is just play that. There's the 4 chord, back to... And I got a little fancy. I did a little chromatic there. There's my other A. Could you hear the chords going by in my playing just from me one noting here and there? I'd would one note for a while, then I would add a little bit in there. So go find a backing track, figure out what the chords are in that backing track, and see if you can find them in your solos. A beginner can do this, and it will change everything for you. The next part that I want to share from this week's lick video is something else I did in there. This is called anticipation. The anticipation of new harmony. What do you think that means? Anticipation. Sounds difficult, doesn't it? Anticipation. I don't want to do that. That's not fun. It sounds, let's not do it, right? Anticipation is exactly that. There's something coming up, and we're going to reference that before it happens, kind of like telling the future. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my sheet here, my tab from this week's lick video. If you are a member of the Academy, you get all of the tablature, all of the backing tracks, and all of the guitar profiles for all of these lick videos. So every week I put them up. They're right there for everyone to use. Now, there was one later on here. What I've done is created this whole lick for a full 12-bar blues. And when the E9 comes up, so the E9 is going to be on measure 10. So we have 4 measures of A7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. We have 2 measures of D9. Back to 2 measures of A7. Right here on the measure 9, the end of measure 9, we have something that sounds like this. Now, the next chord that comes in right after that is the E9. Everything else before was very, actually it was major pentatonic. So everything we did up to this point in this solo, if you go through the tablature, is pretty much based in the A major pentatonic area. But when this E9 comes up, and this happens on the and of 3, the on the beat of 4, and then the and of 4, the measure before. The chord hasn't even come in yet. We're still over at A7 chord, but the notes that we're playing are G, G sharp, and E. So here's, can you hear, this is the harmony that's going on at the time, A7, and these notes bring you to an E chord of some sort, right? We have G, which is our minor third, G sharp, which is our major third, and then the high E on the 12th fret of the E string, which would be the root of the chord that's about to happen. Then on the beat, when the chord finally does happen, I bend a note up into that high E. The fact that I started playing over this E chord before it happened is very interesting. This is another instance of tension and release. The longer that you play over chords, the more you know your scales, the more time that you spend working and trying to come up with great melodies, tension and release is going to become a big part of everything that you do. How long am I going to stay on something that doesn't resolve? Or how can I lead into something? I may use scale patterns. I may use notes that are outside of the scale, but how can I lead into that? And this is kind of the idea. It sounds like the Johnny B. Good, that kind of a sound, the minor third to major third of a new chord, but playing it a little bit before. I do this all the time in my improv. So if I know, I'll say, okay, I'm going to play to that E chord when it comes in. I might go and play some of the chord notes right before it happens. I'm going to do it for the D7 and the E7. So we're just going to play, put a little tube scream on there. Did you hear I played over the D chord before it happened? So what I did was, I knew the chord was coming up. I shifted up to pretty much where you would play the bar chord for that, for the E7. And I used this little idea of going minor third to major third to root of the chord that was coming up. I'm not playing in the A scale anymore. I'm playing over that chord. I'm targeting those chord notes. And then over the D in the A. Each one of those I did on beat 4 of the measure before. And it draws your ear into the next chord. It prepares the harmony. Is it matching the chord that's playing at the time? Not at all. Right? It creates tension, but tension is good as long as you resolve it to something strong. And that's what we're doing there. We're playing the strong notes of the next chord in a place that we're not ready for yet. How can a beginner do that? How can a beginner do that? Well, what's the chord? E? So a little bit before the next chord comes in, play that note. If it's a D chord, an eighth note before that chord comes in, play it right before it happens and see the sound. It's the sound of an anticipation. In fact, when you're playing in a band, sometimes if you do that enough, the drummer will pay attention to you and he'll say, "Oh, I'm going to do a hit right where you do that anticipation each time." And it's a wonderful way to get more mileage out of easy notes and easy scales that we're playing. I think you're going to enjoy doing that. This is dipping your toes in the water. It's the first step to it. But these are things that people don't think about. The typical, I'm going to learn a solo. So you either learn something note for note, or you learn a scale pattern and you go up and down, up and down. I see it all the time. And this is a way to get out of that. I'm changing your thinking. Coaching students know all about this. It's all about changing your thinking for these things. It's your thinking that's keeping. You've got the tools, the scale patterns are there, the chords are there. You've got everything you need. It's the way you approach it that's going to change things. To me, those are the two very important takeaways from this week's lick video. One is simple structure to your improv or written solos. It was written in this instance. I had a very simple structure. I decided I was going to do something before I started improv, and then I followed that as I went along. So a simple structure. And the second thing to take away from this is anticipating the harmony, playing to that E chord, the E note, a little bit before it comes in. It leads your ear into those chords. You can take your playing from where it is right now and kick it up 2-3 steps, 2-3 notches, just by trying these things next time you play. And I hope you do. Okay, now a little bit of a new section here. What we've been doing is playing a lick video on YouTube and then having the podcast the next day. So I can get into the things that we're, hopefully some of the people who go over and check out these lick videos, people will just want to learn new licks all the time. And hopefully I can sneak in some of the good stuff, what I call the cauliflower and the mashed potatoes, right? The good stuff in those lick videos, draw you over here, and then we can really start to change your playing. I can give you some new ideas about how to approach these things. But so what we do now is we have a place for questions that's easy to get to. With the podcast, it's usually kind of difficult. But here, you can just go over to the video and leave a question in the comments. And I got a bunch of them this past week. And the first one was from Jeff Robodi. I don't know. It's a big, long one. But what he said was, is that a David Gilmour Black Strat? My favorite guitar. I have 2 of them. Rosewood fretboard and a lacquered maple. Love it. I couldn't see for sure if the pickup switch was on it. So no, this is a parts caster. I had the black body. And I have this neck is a replacement neck. It's actually a really nice neck. It's compound radius. It's very fast. I really like it a lot. Maple neck. And I thought, why not? I've got this stuff. Why not make my own version of a Gilmour Strat? And so I had just some regular tuners on it. I had the regular Fender bridge on it. And then I put in the Custom Shop 69 Fender pickups, and then the Duncan, I forget, SSL5 or what, I can't remember the number. I've got it right over there. The bridge pickup that David Gilmour uses, and He uses a lot of different stuff, but the one he's kind of famous for using there. And I put them in, wired it all up, played it for a while, and realized that those pickups weren't for me. They work for him. They didn't work for me. They weren't what I was used to or my stuff, what I was expecting of that. And I said, well, goodness, what am I going to do here? So I had got one of the 1-ply pick guards for this Strat, the black 1-ply. So the difference is, if you ever see a Strat pick guard, if it's a 3-ply, usually you'll see a little white line around the side there. So the middle ply is white. So when they kind of bevel it on the side of the pick guard, so you see it gives you a little white line all the way around. The Gilmore look is not that. It's just a black. So it kind of blends in. You don't really see the pick guard too much because you don't have that outline there. But something funny about 1-ply pick guards is I was getting some weird vibrations. It was vibrating against the wood in a very strange way. And so I think maybe some of the screw holes for this were a little off. I redid them and I got that weird sound out of there. But what I did, since I had it open, was I was like, well, life is too short. I need to put pickups in here that I like. So I had a Duncan JB humbucker and then 2 Lindy Fralin Vintage Hot Strat pickups, the neck in the middle, which I love, which I've been using for years and years and years. And I love the JB. So I put those in there, got my kind of custom wiring scheme, and put it all in there with one of those super switches, and then started playing it and loved it. So there's the pickups I need. So now it's morphed away from a David Gilmour Strat. It still looks like it a little bit, but I have a big chrome nickel humbucker in the bridge there. So that makes it different. Then I wanted to use the tremolo, and I have had years and years and years and years of problems with tremolos not staying in tune. And I had always heard from my friend Chris that Wilkinson tremolos work really. He has one in a Strat, and it stays in tune really, really well. Then I saw Andy Timmons used one on his guitar, a Wilkinson. So I thought, well, let's try it out. Bought a Wilkinson, the VSVG, put it in here. I don't have it set perfect. I've got some little issues with the high E string intonating. It's pretty close though. It's not perfect yet. So I got to adjust it a little bit, but it stays in tune. I'm using my tremolo for the first time. So that's my guitar. That's my Gilmour style guitar here. It's not a real Gilmour Strat. It's a parts caster, but I love it. I think it's great. I've been playing it all the time. It looks really good too. Okay, so thanks for that. Let's see here. The next one was Stoked MTB Family. Said, I've listened to the podcast twice now, and I'll be spending time with the video. Thank you for this. It's perfect for where I am, I think. Question though, when playing this over a rhythm, it seems like the timing of hitting the note that is off the G minor scale. Okay, so this was one of the lick videos that was in G minor. And then on the 4 or 5 chord minor scale should be timed with the rhythm chord change. That's what we were just talking about, right? Targeting those chords. Is that right? Or can you comment on that? Thank you again for this awesome video. You're welcome. So yes, so there are certain notes in those licks that are meant to hit right when the chord change happens. I don't remember this one exactly off the top of my head, but hitting the note that's off the G minor scale and on the 4 or 5 chord minor scale should be timed with the rhythm chord change. Yes, it's important. Rhythm is really important. So we have the musical triangle, right? We have melody, harmony, and rhythm. All 3 of those things have to be together for you to have a really, really solid musical idea. So melody and harmony, that's easy. That's our scales and our chords, and that's what we focus on most of the time. But when they happen is the thing that changes everything. That's when your playing gets refined. When you make these decisions about what you're going to play and they hit right there. So, so the G minor scale, and you're going to, if you're in the key of G, then you'd have the C note or the D note. Either those two would land right when the chord changes for it to be the most effective. We also talked about anticipations. So playing it a little bit before that happened can also create a little tension with a really, really nice resolution right there. So yes, that pay special attention to the rhythm with these licks. Like I said, members of the Academy can go in and they can get the PDFs with the tablature on there. And I have the standard notation on all of them, so you can see exactly where the rhythm is. On the videos, I don't put the standard notation in because it would take up a lot of room and most people don't look at it anyway. But if you really want to get these set up right and have the rhythm right in the right place, that will be a good place to go. The next one was from Dwayne Buckner, 69, right? And he said, I'm a beginner player at 61. I watch a lot, and I mean a lot, of guitar playing videos. Very rarely does someone mention how to set the tones on the guitar and set up the amp where you can actually have a similar blues sound. Okay, let's talk about the tones that I'm using for these lick videos. So I'm going everything through my Boss IR 200. I'll take a picture of it and put it in the video if you're watching on video right here. So this is my tone engine here, and I have it set for a Fender amp. In this, they have a twin combo. That's what they use here. And I have it set so it's a little sparkly, a little scooped. It's got a little, not tons of mids, and just enough bass that it doesn't sound farty. Right? So to me, that's a really great pedal platform. And when I play blues, I always played either a Fender amp or something similar to that and use pedals on it. So I do know that with blues, for me, for lead playing, two different sounds work. One is the amp itself just cranked all the way up, which I will simulate here with. I'll adjust the level so it's not. So this is a simulation of a Fender amp all the way up. So that's kind of a raw, in-your-face Fender sound. But the other thing that I like to do is keep the amp relatively clean and then add a tube screamer in front of it. And if you see by the picture of my little desktop pedal board here, I have a green TS9 in front of it. Now, everybody has their way that they use the tube screamer. Some people have the drive all the way down and then the level all the way up. I tend to enjoy the sound of the distortion from the tube screamer. So I usually will use it everything around noon. I think I have the drive a little bit higher than noon there. What the tube screamer does is it fills the gap in the Fender sound. The Fender sound is scooped. The mids are lower than the highs and the lows. And the tube screamer has a mid hump. And you've heard about that a lot, I'm sure, on YouTube, but so it gets a little beefier sound, a little bit warmer, but also the way that the distortion sounds on that matches really well. Especially with the neck pickup all the way up. And then you can adjust your tone knob for the style of music that you're playing. I usually keep my tone knob all the way up there, but it gives a warm sound. It gives it a little bit of sustain, and it matches really well with the Fender sound that I'm using. I have some amps here. I have Fender amps here. Sometimes I'll go into my Torpedo, the Captor X that I have over here on the desk, and run those amps as well. But they do get hot. This is a small room, so a lot of times I'll go with the Boss IR 200 and get those Fender sounds. And I have some other ones. These are my blues sounds. That's what he was talking about. But another day I'll go and show you how I get some of the more rock sounds and the clean sounds that I use too. I also run a Keeley compressor on this as well. So sometimes here, let me get the turn off. Sometimes I'll kick in that compressor like that if I want to have something that kind of a pristine sound that lasts a long time. Here's without the compressor. It adds a little bit of level to it. But it's a lot of fun. It's very touch sensitive when you use it that way. So there you go, Dwayne. I hope that helps with maybe setting up a sound, get a clean sound. And Old Faithful, an Ibanez Tube Screamer. You can get the Behringer. They have a Tube Screamer variant for what, $20 or something like that. That will do the same thing. It's Old Faithful, always works. This was fun. It's a little bit different. I'm changing things up a little bit, gearing things so it's a little bit, still just as fun for audio podcasts, but maybe just a little bit extra for the video podcast as well too. Hope you're enjoying this. Hope you're enjoying the lick videos. And last thing I want to say is I have a few spots left for coaching. I have some spots for the twice a month and then the 4 times a month open. Just a few left. At some point, that's going to close, and I'll only take people in when I have an opening, and then I'll be doing more group things after that. So head on over to playguitaracademy.com/play guitar coaching, or just click the link in the description below. And I have a few questions for you, and I'll get back to you if you're interested in that. And that's going to be it for today for our little different format here. I enjoyed it, and I'm going to call it. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Looking forward to seeing what you have to say in the comments. And remember to get all the tabs, backing tracks, and guitar profiles, along with the roadmap courses and our live sessions on Wednesdays. You can become a member of Play Guitar Academy today and try it out for just 2 weeks for $1 before it kicks into the regular $24 a month. After that, the link is in the description. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.